we had to cut you off.
We got dirt on Bryan, literally.
Welcome to the Awesome Pod, where we talk a lot. E-com is the path that we walk a lot. From 4 point of views when we're talking shop.
Yeah. All right. So we're here back, episode 4. I'm here with John Roman, CEO, co-founder of BattleBox and the #1 survival reality show on Netflix called Southern Survival. Very excited to have him here. We got Amer, Grozdanic.
Oh,
We were doing so well.
he was doing so well.
Grozdanic.
It's burnout. It's
It's a tough last name.
Amer Grozdanic. Amer G. AG.
Amer as an
AG.
American. Now you're butchering my
I know,
first
I'm
name
fucking
too.
all up, dude.
Amer G.
AG. Anyone ever call you AG before?
Not really, no.
I like that.
How about Sunny?
How about
Sunny? Yes,
We got
Sunny.
Sunny here. It's
Yeah.
so much easier.
I had a luscious blonde hair, believe it or not.
Really?
I used to, yeah.
Blonde?
Yeah, remember the movie Remember the Titans?
Yeah.
So I played football, and they put me to play quarterback, and I had long hair with blonde highlights, and I took off my helmet, and my friend Victor looked at me and said, "Sunshine."
Sunshine.
Remember the
Yes.
Titans.
Yes.
Do you have
yeah.
a picture?
We need a picture of that, please.
Yeah.
I do.
Throw a picture
Yeah,
up.
B-roll, please.
Oh, hold
Yeah.
on. I
Where's
think
your
I have
phone?
it.
Look-
No,
look
we'll just get it out of B-roll.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
need to see this. And then we've got Bryan MacDonald here from Almost Pride. He's here as our resident meat guy, market extraordinaire, and rapper here, and on now AI expert.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're gonna put that to your title now because
Appreciate
that's
it.
how you do it. Just make sure you add it to your LinkedIn profile, or
Yes.
it's not legitimate.
You're right.
Yeah, just make sure you're following the protocol. And my name is Jimmy Kim. I'm the CIO and founder of SendLane.com. Excited to be here at episode 4, guys. We've had some cool episodes so far, and I'm stoked about this one because I think this is a unique one because this has been a rise, and it hasn't been that long ago that I started really putting my energy and effort in it. And I don't know your story with it. I'd love to learn your story about how Anything But Salad kind of kicked off and how that's been kind of growing. But, as we talk about social media, in a world where more people want to be connected, community is obviously a big driver. Some of the largest brands that I know are using community like BattleBox to drive more sales and loyalty within their businesses. I think social media is such a fascinating thing because it's not about the posting. It's about the ability to get to the people that you want to be around and creating almost a bubble or an effect around you guys. And, for me at SendLane, for example, how I've got myself here. And what's interesting is I'll go zap way back. All right. So I started my journey, my first time around in affiliate marketing in 2009 and 2010 and started learning it. And I had built and I eventually turned into a content creator. And I built a community back then. I had a YouTube following. I had a Facebook fan page. Remember when those were popular?
Yeah.
Dude, I used to have a banging Facebook fan page with 100,000 followers at one point. And they were probably mostly bots and all that. But it's cool. It was still 100,000. And so I learned a lot of that, and then I kind of fizzled away from that as I went into different businesses and avenues. And my story of how I was able to kind of build SendLane and get it out into the market in a very tough market was a lot to do with social media. So today I want to talk about social media, and I think I'm excited to share kind of a little bit about what SendLane or I did to drive what I call basically how we achieved what we have done today in this market with a lot of social media. But it's not just social media, and that's the key here, and I think that's going to be exciting. So
I'm excited to hear it because ultimately you and I got connected and are friends now because of your social media presence.
Yeah. And
Same.
Mark Cuban follows my social media.
Yes.
I mean, what the F? I got to step up my game now because he's following and watching.
Yeah. Sending emails to his team.
Yeah, dude, it's such a cool thing, and it shows how much you can empower it. So I'm gonna set the stage here, all right? In 2021, we had launched SendLane as the e-commerce email platform, and we had this vision and group and all that stuff. And I was bright-eyed, bushy-tailed marketer. I'm so smart. I've hit successes in my previous market. How hard could it be to go sell SaaS?
Easy.
How hard could it be to offer a better, cheaper product for it actually wasn't better back then, but it was just cheaper back then. But how hard could it be to go tackle an incumbent, right? And there was this company called Klaviyo, so I'm going to name him because it's not a shock what I'm saying there, right? I looked around at him and I said, look, when you look at a business, there's only 3 pillars that a business hits on. It's product, ecosystem, and personality, right? And I looked at them and I said, they got a great product, no doubt, right? I'm not going to ever bullshit that. They've got a good, solid product. Number two, they got a great ecosystem, right? Ecosystem right here is one of the many ecosystem people in that market. But who the hell is their face? Who are they in the market? And they had no face because they had no competitors.
They don't even respond to comments.
And they didn't care because they had no competitors, right? And so I looked at that and I said, you know what? I bet I could create that personality in our side, and that's going to be our differentiator. I'm going to go out and figure this out. So my story starts in it was like September of 2022. I was like, all right, what am I going to do? Sit here at the table. What am I going to do? I got my Post-it note out. I'm ready to write. I'm like, I got it. Post one post a day. Slapped it on my computer. I said, that's all I'm going to work on today. I'm just going to make one post. It's going to be good, whatever. Everyone's going to love it. I made my first post. No one liked it. No one cared, right? And then I made my team like it. You know, that's the hack. You can make your team like it, right? I'm being honest, right?
Yeah.
And so, and only some of them liked it because they're like, what the hell is this guy doing posting on social media and asking us to like it? It's out of the right behavior for me. So I post that and I start posting every day. And then I was like only on LinkedIn at first. And then and I was doing it. And then I had met this guy named Tommy. And some people know Tommy. He's on social media. He used to run Triple Whales marketing. So I reached out to Tommy and I was like, Tommy, teach me what you did at Triple Whale. How did you create the social noise that you did at that company? And how did you do that? And he was like, well, blah, 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 blah. And then I did the most entrepreneur. Can I just hire you for it? And he was like, absolutely. So I said, great. Now you go do LinkedIn and you're going to go work on it and you're going to do it. So he kind of took over and started working on it. And I gave him a bunch of content all the time. And I was like, you go do it. And he would add memes and all that stuff. It started working, but nothing really was working. A couple more likes were occurring. And then I jumped over onto Twitter. It was still Twitter at that time. So I jumped onto Twitter and I was like, fresh account from 2009 that I've sat on. If you look at my old post, they're like anger comments and things. I was like, oh shit, I better delete some of these things. And you know what I mean? Like go into it. So I go on Twitter and I'm looking around and I realized that there's this community on there, the D2C community. And now everyone knows, but like back then I didn't know that's where the community was. As a SaaS company, I didn't know. I didn't figure it out. And I saw that they were in there, they're talking about things. So I was like, I'm just going to be smart. I'm going to go comment and not sell to people because I knew that you don't sell in social media. You comment and engage to build trust. So I started commenting on random people and engaging. And I was like, I'm going to start posting over here too. Now, Tommy is running my LinkedIn and I'm like, hey, I'm going to just run my Twitter myself. I'm going to go try this myself, watching what I'm already learning. So I start posting. No one listens. Just typical. You get 4 views, 7 views, 15 views in the early days. And I just kept posting because I'd always watch friends of mine like Chase Diamond in the early days, and they would just keep posting, even though no one was doing anything. And I just kept that mentality up. In fact, I kept posting until February of 2023. And in February 2023, what actually happened was really interesting. So SendLane as a company, we do sponsorships of events. And one of the events that came up was this event, Triple Whale, the Whaleys in Austin, Texas. It was an icy day in Austin. I flew like 7 flights and failed. And eventually the number one airline company was Spirit that could fly me there because they didn't care. Well, we got there, right? I remember rushing in and it was like, 3 p.m. I was speaking at 3 p.m. because I paid for the slot to speak at 3 p.m. It was like 2:30. I'm rushing into the door and I'm covered with ice and I'm cold and fucked up and whatever. And I show up and I'm like, whoa, the room is packed. It was back to back packed. It was a small room that 120 people. And I didn't know something about this room at the time. I just knew that there was a lot of people in there, right? So I come up, it's 3 o'clock, and I'm going to go talk about something called deliverability. Because I knew that, again, going back to the idea of the pillars, I said, if I need a thought leadership, I need to peg myself on something that I am the guy in, right? I already know email, but there's a lot of people who know email. But you know what people don't talk about is deliverability quite often. So I'm going to talk about the insane knowledge that I've accumulated by sending billions and billions of emails and learning about the systems. So I went up there and I basically told the story narrative where I believe email is heading, what you should be doing. And the craziest part about that story is that that February 2023 is everything that happened in February 2024 before it ever came public. So I predicted everything that they said to the T, which was crazy. And I have no idea. And I'm not saying I'm an oracle of any sort. I just did nail that talk down. So I do that talk and I'm up there and it starts off really noisy because everyone wants to chat and talk. And I just start talking. And I'm so excited about this topic as a person, even though I don't think many people are. And I started talking about it and the room got really nice and silent. And they started listening to me because I was talking to them about shit they'd never heard in their lives. Deliverability was not something a brand ever thought about because it's expected. but they didn't realize the challenge would be coming. So I wanted to expose them. And dude, fear is always going to be a topic that people, the fear of the unknown, right? So I talked there. Now, this is where my first pinnacle happened. At that moment, I did the talk, and I had a lot of people just like mind blown about what I was talking about. But what I didn't realize was Triple Whale had congregated their entire D2C Twitter into that room. If that makes sense, right? They had congregated social media into that room. Were you at that event?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but you know about the event probably, right? It was all over social. And they had congregated all the top influencers and the marketers and people who talk about social. And what happened? They started talking about me. They started following me. They started posting me. And suddenly I had been accepted into the circle. That was like my first inkling of what had happened, right? So that started happening at the same time on the business side. So this is where it gets really interesting. And if you're a SaaS company listening to it, it's not just about social media. It's more than that. We had started executing what I had effectively called the community platform play. I said, hey, how do I build a community? I need to lead the community and create my own community around me. And the way that I'm going to do that is through events, podcasts, social media, and the different things. So at that point, we committed to go to any event and every event I can go to. D2C dinners were still hot back then, unlike today anymore, but they were hot. And so I was getting my way into every dinner. I was paying my way into those things. And then I was using a podcast as my thing. I said yes to everybody. If you asked me for a podcast in 2023, I didn't care if you were a recruiting agency or you were going to go sell my face off into somewhere about something totally. I didn't care. I was in. I would say yes to everybody. And I used that because I knew that these guys, though they might not be big, they will do what Bryan will do with these videos, which is cut them all up and post them all over social. And even if they just overly spam my shit, it's going to get my face out there. Right. So I said all that to you. So I'm taking all that. And now suddenly social media, I'm aware. People are aware about me. And at that time, I also looked at my LinkedIn and I was like, I've got Twitter starting to figure out. I'm going to take over my LinkedIn. So I took him back over and kind of like the unification story. Like I brought him over because I realized that they play off each other a bit. Right. So I realized I didn't need that. And I brought it back under myself. And then from then I just started getting focused on content, post 3 times a day, but more importantly, engage 15 to 20 times a day. That was the secret number one that I learned. I learned really fast that it wasn't about posting. It was about engaging with other people and providing real value. And if you can hit viral posts of other people with the best comment, you are the second most viewed person on that comment. And if you can nail a lot of those, you will get immediate followers and activity. So I started teaching stuff. I started talking about stuff that people don't. One of the things I thought was really funny is when I first started, people would be like, how to set up an abandoned cart. People don't do that anymore on social, at least on D2C Twitter, because I've kind of like push that off and like we've started talking to the next level. So I started doing that. I hit these events. I started speaking on stage. I was paying my way through everything. Like it's not like people wanted to be speak. Who the heck was I? I was nobody, right? So I paid my way to sponsor different ways to get in there to speak on stage. And then social media has been really interesting because some of the major inflection points of SendLane and our growth was not because, what's the best way of saying it? Not because we were planned and we were special and smart. It was because we're at the right place at the right time. And there's no bullshit to that. I always tell people that, right? So I'm going to give you 2 real funny occasions that occurred. The first one was with reviews. We were like, okay, we got email, we got SMS, reviews is our next product. I had heard down the grapevine that Klaviyo was running reviews, right? And I heard all this stuff and I was like, man, how do I mess up their reviews launch, right? Going back to it. How do I mess this thing up? And how do I go attack them in a right way? So I started talking about reviews on social media. Right? Starting to get people thinking about me. And then the second thing I did was I pushed the team really hard to get reviews out because we needed to get it launched and into the market. And I launched it. And I launched it for free because that was always the plan. I've always wanted to disrupt that. And I believed that I could disrupt it. And I put it out for free. So I put it out for free. And then a week later, Klaviyo launches their reviews for $500. And it was negative motion towards Klaviyo because SendLane had led the market and let it free. And then Klaviyo didn't. So timing, dumb timing again, right? And then the second one was even the most beautiful thing. So at that time, I'd been figuring out, I've been talking to a ton of people. The world of social had opened up my, sliding into DMs, how I got Milk Bar, how I got, some of my biggest brands were all through the DMs of Twitter or LinkedIn, right? That's how I managed to get some of the biggest brands in today. And I'll talk a little bit about numbers in a second. But what's that called again? So where was I? What the hell was I talking about?
Second most beautiful thing.
Second most beautiful thing.
You talk about disrupting Klaviyo.
Oh yeah. So the second most beautiful thing, right? So I was going through this, and we had been testing like pricing. within the background. So from January to about June, we were testing pricing. And I was like, you know what? There's a fundamental thing broken with the way that we're pricing our product. We're pricing it on context. It makes no sense. Let's price it on Sends. Let's go test it. Let's go sell it on that. And so internally, we were selling it for 6 months on the Sends, but we hadn't publicly announced it. So then we were like, all right, marketing team, we're going to go announce it. We're going to go do all this and that. We're going to do it. We're going to do it on this day, July, I don't know, it was 12th or 13th of the month, right? And on the day that we're supposed to post it, and I'm like scrambling. I remember I was in Las Vegas. I was there for the World Series of Poker, and I didn't want to fucking work. I just wanted to be in the freedom place. But we knew we had this launch, and of course, job calls first. So I was sitting there, and I'm looking for something, and then someone makes a post about Klaviyo had used AI to write, like clearly used AI to write a notice about the pricing adjustment they're about to make, right? So they were raising prices. And I was like, dude, that's the play. So I announced on top of their this negative post, and I announced that I am going to use it. And that just exploded, right? So there that explosion happened. That brought tons of relevance to me. It was probably the biggest spike of followers that I had. It started bringing even larger influencers on top of me, being like, look at this guy. He understands the market. He's listening. He's a merchant, blah, blah, blah. And then that all led to our live event. So what was crazy is last year was our very first live event. If anyone watched it on social media, anyone who heard about it would have never thought it was our very first live event we've ever done. But the reason why, and I've had history doing events, so like it was not special or new to me to know how to throw a great event, but the amount that we sold out, the ability that we were able to sell out within just weeks, sell out early, and attract some of the best speakers, mostly because I positioned like a community event. And even today, even our event that we'll have in September this year was totally a community event.
But that's what it was. You positioned it, but it was also that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's right. And so that was the goal. And I delivered on it. And I didn't pitch SendLane the whole time. We made it really authentic, and people enjoyed it to build that presence, right? So I had really established that I'm not here because I want to sell SendLane. That's just you buy SendLane because you like me and it serves the needs that you have. But I want you to be here because I want to teach you stuff. I want to educate you. I want to be the retention guy, and I want to be the guy that you can come to and feel comfortable talking to me about. So a lot of these things. So social media, and that's kind of the abbreviated story of like how I got here on like some other things. And there's obviously tons of tactical things that I did inside of it and things that came into place. But the key learning, I guess, that I took back from social media was not only did I provide so much intense value, but the dollars and money that we came back out through creating social media presence, word of mouth, using different things like podcasts, but not just my podcast, because I didn't actually, this is my very first like really owned like podcast that we're doing. I was using other people's podcasts and also sponsoring the leading podcasts. Like it's no surprise, I'm on 9 operators. I'm one of the sponsors there. I was the second sponsor in season 1, like episode 2, and I've never let off since because I knew how tight that community is and people listen. And so I basically used all of those places to just create a noise of what I call the be everywhere kind of moment, right? And then I layered it with Twitter ads. Someone was asking me this recently. Twitter ads are awesome if you know what you're doing with it. It's not selling, it's content. And it's pushing content in front of people that you want to push it so that you can grow relevance, so you can get them to drive to a follow, which creates more engagement, which will lead you to eventually a lead, a DM, right? The amount of DMs, I mean, I could tell you, and I'm not going to expose all the numbers because people, whatever, but like Q1 this year, there's over $6 million of pipeline I generated through Twitter, through direct DMs from people asking me, hey, can I get a demo? And I'm talking some of the largest D2C brands coming to me, right? Yeah. Through what I had created. I had created the presence of an authentic human being that people can talk to, that people can relate to. And so that was kind of like the thing that I've realized. And now, people ask me a lot of things all the time. Like, do you write your own content? Answer is yes, I do. I literally was standing out there writing my own content about something and misspellings happen. I use AI to try to help, but when I'm on the fly, I don't care enough because I learned, especially on Twitter, it's very forgiving. So I don't care. LinkedIn, there might be a little picky or whatever, but English teacher always told me I was going to fail anyway. So it's all good. But yeah, that's my social media story. Like, that's how, without getting into every detail, that's the playbook that we use to drive community. And that's how we've been accepted into the community. We found product market fit as a SaaS company through community.
What do you, and I know, Bryan, you have experience with this, so does Jean. And kind of like my fear, and actually this like I know I'm on this podcast, and John and I recorded our stuff before too, but it wasn't a natural or easy thing for me to do. One of the big things is like whenever I talk about perspective or advice, I want to make sure I get it right. And I'm always afraid to be wrong. And I mentioned the previous podcast, I was always afraid of failure. But I think what prevents a lot of people, including me for a long time, to make the leap that you did and everything you explained is the word you use, value. And what I realized is value is a spectrum word. You can provide value to maybe somebody that you're starting out, that maybe what you say to them can be completely novel, or somebody who's a marketer like Bryan, maybe different type of a influencer or social media post is more valuable to him. So I think people forget there's such a wide spectrum to it. So like, how do you get people to overcome the fear of not being able to provide value?
Dude, that's such a good question. There is a little bit of naturalness that comes into this. Like, it'd be a lie to say like anyone can do it.
Right.
You definitely have to have a desire to be there and position yourself into wanting to do that. The reality is that all of us in this room, we have enough in our heads of knowledge. It's just how can you get it out and share it in a consumable way to other people, right? So it's like me, and this is like, I'll give you the framework that I use, and so you can get a better understanding. It's not trying to talk about everything that you're doing, right? You're talking about website experiences, for example, but you don't need to talk about all the website experiences. You need to create your pillars. What are your 3 pillars that you're going to go after? And then you excessively talk about them, and you talk about them 100 ways. And there's one thing I learned really early, Amer, and this is weird, but people are goldfish on social media. Scroll, pause, like, scroll, pause, like, right? Dude, whatever you say today, unless you say some stuff that like some people are doing and creating your own problems politically and whatever, if it's business related stuff and it doesn't hit, it just moves on and disappears.
Yeah.
And no one gives a crap.
Yep.
Except for you. And I know, and it's me too. I'm so relentless. I'm watching like rates and engagement rates, and I've got all these tools I use, like Tapuleo or whatever, blackmagic.so, Typefully. I use all these tools, right? And I always just, and what I'm doing is I'm watching and tracking my engagement and my data, and I'm a nerd about that stuff. So like, I'm like, what am I doing? How is it attracting, and all that stuff? But like, it's kind of one of those things. I think it starts with the desire to want to do it. My desire was very simple. At the time that I started to jump in it, I had all these BDRs doing cold outbound emails and phone calls, right? What they tell you B2B SaaS. I had just taken on money about a year ago, a lot of money about a year ago, and I wasn't proven the success that I was showing that I believed that I could do. I was behind, and it was embarrassing. So my back was against the wall. So it wasn't that I wanted to do it. It was that I had to do it. And so when I had to do it, became a need to do it. And now it's a want to do it because I enjoy it so much. It's actually become like a part of my life, and being on social is kind of important, I think. And I've realized the word of mouth that it spreads, and the thing that's so invaluable when Bryan can talk about my product. Like on episode 3, we were talking about Gorgeous, for example. They're not a sponsor. I mean, yeah, we want them as a sponsor. We want anyone like that makes sense for us to be a sponsor. But like, we talked about them organically. That word of mouth that you just did organically there, dude, that pays so much more spades in the market than an advertisement or a Google AdWords or a banner on a sponsor wall. You know what I mean? But that's also just as important to have your banner on the sponsor wall for branding reasons. And so it becomes part of your entire strategy. But yeah, I mean, it was for me, it was a must do to survive at first. And now it's become a want. So that's my answer, is like, you got to get to a place where you want. And dude, if your business is kicking ass and you're got great word of mouth, who the hell cares? It's less work, right?
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say you have to do it. I think it works. But I obviously, watching you two have that relationship, knowing that you guys work together. And last night, we're doing some cheesy stuff where we're like, get to know each other and stuff. Because we want to do this, because we really are investing in making sure that we're doing well. And as John said, we spent $10,000, so we probably should do this well. But we were getting to know each other. And when their segment of John came up, he goes, dude, I'm going to go run upstairs. I already know John's story. I know all the details, right? That's what you can start creating in social media, right? If you can start sharing correctly. People know me that I don't know. I get approached at events. I get approached in random places sometimes. Hey, are you Jimmy Kim? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, oh, dude, it's just nice to meet you. Like, there's no real reason. It's just nice to meet you, right? But it's cool. Like, it's cool to know that people listen, and then often they'll give me a compliment around the content, and it feels good. And to your point about feeling good, right? It feels good when people learn from your content, especially when they apply it and make more money or do something with it. Dude, that feels great. You know, even if they're not my customer, I have so many people that follow me that aren't my customers. We laugh, but like, I'm at an event and dude, there'll be 9-figure brand after 9-figure brand after 9-figure brand after. They come up, what's up, man? How are you? Great content. Loving your content, sharing it to my team. They'll probably never be a customer. That's okay, because I've impacted him. I've done my job. And one day, maybe not this business or a future business, I hope that I will get them as a customer.
But you know what? With certainty at that point, and it's, you know, it's typically very process driven for companies that large, but there's going to be a point where they're going to reevaluate their stack and certain parts of it. And I know good and well that you're in the conversation at that point.
Yeah.
Because of that relationship. Well, we're getting a quote from Sunlight, right? Like, with certainty.
Yeah.
And you've put yourself into the conversation.
Yeah. And it's hard in a place where you have a $9 billion giant over you. We're a tiny little company, Bexon. They could squash us like a bug tomorrow, and maybe they will and pay me out. But we'll see. There's a price to everything, guys. I love what I stand for in the Rebel, but listen, I can be a corporate sellout too. So no, I'm just kidding. But the face and personality of the human is definitely just what the internet wants.
Yeah.
How long did it take you, like, when you started the journey and you said, like, I gotta do this? When did it, like, hit you, like, this is working? Like, what was that sign?
So it was I think it was like maybe 4 or 5 months in before I started getting my first lead. And then when I got my first lead, it was freaking exciting. And then I think it was several leads later, and one of my largest clients is Milk Bar. I met Milk Bar on Twitter. You know how we did it? Because I engaged with him because he was upset about a review, like a reviews product.
Yeah.
And I just asked him, what do you like? What do you don't like? And one thing led to another, and I just got into his DMs because we actually got into a little bit of a heated battle on social. And he was like, oh, you're firing me up on a Monday morning. And I was like, oh, dude, I'm sorry, man. I just really wanted to ask questions because I'm building a review app. And I was just curious, like, what makes you upset? I really want to make this a better product because you're one of my dream clients. Like, I knew who you guys were because I've eaten your cookies. We used to ship your cakes out to our employees when we used to, for birthdays. And like, it's like a dream to have you as a client. And then several months later, here they are, they're a client. Right. And like, now we're celebrating, I think, like 2 years with them now at this point. And it's like so cool that we can power them and they're just a really happy customer. Right. That would have never happened if I wasn't out in the market.
And you weren't selling. You were just...
I never sold. If you look at my, and they always ask me, hey, can I get a demo? I never say I'm going to give you a demo.
Yeah.
I'm not out there selling. That is really the hardest thing to be authentic about, is like, you have to not care enough where you know that your time's valuable, but you also have to do the thing that doesn't scale, which is be human.
Yeah.
It's true. Paul Graham, do things that don't scale. We laugh internally at the company. My CEO that I hire always laughs. He's like, Jimmy, the guy who doesn't like to do things that scale. I said, I do the things that don't scale because those are the things no one else wants to do. And it allows me the space to break through.
Yeah, it can move the needle. Things that don't scale can move the needle.
Yeah.
So it's funny hearing this, and thank you for walking us through that. I'm kind of excited, and I think it's pretty cool because I have obviously a much different side of this because I'm looking at it from a brand, from a consumer perspective, but hearing it, there's so much overlap.
Yeah.
Like for us, it's about organic content.
Yeah.
And we post, we started off every day, and then it's multiple per day, and it's multiple platforms. And just like you have certain types of success on X and different on LinkedIn, it's the same with us with YouTube Reels or TikTok and focusing on that. But it's the same thing. We're not selling at all. We're educating, we're engaging with the community, and it's a little bit different when you're talking about the DM and loading up the funnel. It's a little bit tougher for a D2C brand to know what the funnel looks like, right? But with certain, our post-purchase survey, how long have you known about BattleBox before you signed up? And 50% are greater than 6 months. They're not seeing ads for 6 months.
That's crazy.
They're literally engaging with our content, getting to know us as people. But it's so refreshing to hear that on the B2B side, it's you're looking at it the same way.
Yeah.
And it's that consumer behavior, what you said a couple pods ago, is that consumer behavior, whether it's direct to consumer or B2B, it's changing. Both are changing the exact same way.
Was your guys' timeline similar to Jimmy's, where it took like?
Yeah, dude. So we launched. So in February 2020, I jumped in. I grabbed the recently named TikTok app username, a battle box, sat on it for an embarrassing 1 year, did nothing at all, didn't even log into it, just had it in saved with my password for it. In February 2021, we started posting on there, and man, 200 views, 100 views, 300 views, like garbage for TikTok. But we were having weekly meetings, discussing strategies, trying different stuff, trying different tones, different types of content. We knew with certainty we weren't going to dance on there because that was not on brand. So we stayed true to our brand. We just played around with different types of narrative and voices and messaging and trying to get that connection. And then, man, we failed for probably possibly longer, 5-6 months. It got to the point where we'd have these meetings, and I don't know if they'd admit it. They might admit it now, but my team was probably thinking I was a little crazy.
Yeah.
Like, why the fuck does he have us posting on this teenager app? Fair ask.
Yeah.
But I knew that, with TikTok being the new kid on the block, and we know, Facebook became uncool because all of our parents got on it, right? And it's that usual thing. Then everybody moved to Instagram and then Snap and then TikTok. And I knew with certainty that TikTok was, in theory, unless like the US government kicks it out, here to stay, right? And that just means that the older generations are going to start coming to it. And sure enough, that's what happened. You look at the mean age of TikTok users by month over the last 36 months. It's just straight to the up and to the right.
Yeah.
Right. It's getting older and older and older. And we just I was like, trust me, guys, like it's there. And eventually it popped. And when it popped, every time you pop with any kind of virality, and you know this too, like there's a new baseline afterwards.
Yeah.
Right. All of a sudden it's a bad post is 1,000 views.
Yeah.
Another pop, 2,000.
Dude, that is such a hard thing to fade by the way, mentality wise. Like in the early days, like I had one pop, right? And dude, it felt good. Like I know it's like nothing, it's artificial, but it feels good. Like, hey, something's happening. And then you set this bar, it's so hard.
Yeah.
And then, I used to be like, I want to go viral once a month. And it was like once a week. And now it's like every day I just want to find a way to go viral.
Yeah.
It's like crack.
It's the dopamine. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's rough. And it's rough because right afterwards, more times than not, it's just a lot of failure afterwards because you're looking at this pace car over there that is not necessarily attainable.
100%.
And I don't know if I'm wrong here, though, and Jimmy, correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys were kind of trying to figure out the journey. But I think for you, John, you guys were successful in other channels already.
So define successful, right? Yeah, we
A
had
lot more.
Yeah, so when we started, we had 250,000 on Facebook, maybe 40,000 on Instagram, 50,000 on YouTube.
Okay.
And then TikTok was at 0. And then when we got TikTok quickly up to like 200, 300K, started taking similar strategies to YouTube Reels, Instagram Reels, and using the learnings from all of them, grew up. But I mean, TikTok is our biggest channel now. It's 970,000. YouTube, we now have up to 750,000. So it was yes, we were successful on Facebook.
Yeah.
So now you're at 750,000 on YouTube right now?
Yeah, 764 maybe.
That's so fast. Viral. You're at 50,000 in 2021.
We were we were at 50,000 in December 2021.
So really 2022, and we're at 2.5 years, you went from 50,000
to 700,000.
700,000.
Yeah.
Was there like one single video that just catapulted everything?
No, it was probably in total about a dozen. And part of to your point of X, you put out some business stuff and it's gone tomorrow, right?
Yep.
Like people are quick to forget. So we took that into consideration, right? So when we had good content and maybe we tested on TikTok, we knew it was successful there. We do a variation of it on YouTube, vertical content, short form. And if it popped, we'd make 3-4 iterations of it, slight variations, test different parts of it, maybe keep certain parts that we thought were the possible banger of it and make a better version, we drop that 3-4 days later.
Yeah.
And it's like literally just snowballing. But yeah.
I want to get to your story because your story is like a little bit different
Yeah.
than
Very
theirs.
Yeah, a little different.
And maybe you can kind of lead to this as well because you're more of a solo act. A lot of people, like when you just said you're making 3-4 variations, doing a lot of this stuff, you hire somebody to help you. For smaller brands, they're trying to figure out and say, we just don't have the resources.
Yeah, I mean, I think Bryan hit it on it last episode, right? Like AI is streamlining that part and making it so much easier. CapCut, free app, integrates with TikTok. CapCut, you can there's thousands of templates in there. Like I am not a video editor. I'm not a photo editor. I am slower than molasses when it comes to any of that stuff. But even I can open up CapCut and chop something up in a few minutes and make it fairly easy. So it's not a big time suck. It really isn't.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, especially now with all the tools, I wouldn't even put it at like 10% of my workflow, like week, right? I mean, the big thing with, so I have two separate things, right? Anything But a Salad is sort of just like a joke page that I started like 16 months ago, maybe 14 months ago, where I would cook all these great meals, post them on my personal page. What's a recipe? I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to start a page. So the whole concept was I always made fun of people, respectfully, that would order salads as their main course. Something that drives me up a wall to this day.
You weren't happy with me last night, were you?
No. No.
What is wrong with this guy?
He's having a salad and you can't say his last name. You know, like I was like, no. So that would always drive me up a wall. And I have weird things that really get me going, like Apple does to you. That's one that, you know, we're at a nice restaurant. My wife and I are having a nice steak, right? And I'm looking, oh, you got a Caesar salad? You came all the way out here for a Caesar? You know, so I developed Anything But a Salad. And I just literally started being myself on there. And that side of social media is a little bit different than the brand side of it, right? So I transferred sort of what I learned on the being authentic is crucial, especially with AI now. There's so many like AI profiles. You don't know who's real, what's real.
It's weird.
And then you have the other side of their, like I call them like solo social influencers that, you know, do setup videos or everything's pre-planned. There's the authenticity on socials, like it's taken a deep dive and it's not going to get any better. So like being authentic stands out. And then what I learned that I transferred over to Oma's Pride is not necessarily the follower growth, is the engagement growth, right? So my engagement growth was always phenomenal. I had stuff go viral. I had 2 videos do 20 million. I had 1 do 10. I had 1 do 8. And those did really well. But then I look at like my average, you know, view count, right? So and I try to transfer over that to Oma's Pride, where everyone was all worried about getting up to 100,000, 200,000, 300,000. And in the pet space, if you look at our Instagram, our reels are getting, you know, 2, 3, 4, 5,000 plays. And brands that have 100, 200,000 are getting the same amount of engagement that we are, right?
Less,
so that's literally like my whole philosophy behind social is finding someone, transferring it to the brand, finding someone that can get behind your brand that your customers can relate to. So like Jimmy at Senlane, right? If you lined up all the BattleBox employees, I would probably pick Brandon, right? Just because he fits that demographic. So I don't really carry over into the pet food space, even though I'm really good. I mean, this is who I am and being myself and authentic. I'm really good on social, but I don't transfer over that well into the pet food space. So when I went over there and I wanted to transfer everything that I learned on my page, it was, yeah, I can do this and I can be the talent and I know what to do, but that's not what the consumer doesn't want to see a 33-year-old bald guy with a beard, right? They want to see.
Why not?
So like almost. Are we done? No, no, I'm just checking the countdown. So almost 80% of our customers are female. And they're all between 38 and 54 or 55. So we have a girl that works for me in our marketing department. And I was sitting her down one day because she never wanted to be in front of the camera. And that's the biggest issue with brands, right? Is they don't really, not that they don't have anyone that can be the face of the brand. It's the people that are the best fit are always scared to be right in that face. So it was like a few month process of doing little videos with her here and there. And she's almost at the point now where she can be the face of Almost Pride in regards to representing the brand. But it's that hurdle. Once you find that person and you get them involved, I mean, the possibilities are endless because I said, and I always say there's 10 more years and then 15, maybe this is free distribution. It's over.
That's it.
It's gone.
Yeah.
Like eyeballs are our most valuable asset for any company, no matter who you do, or, who you are, what you do. But like, we're taking it for granted now. Like my daughter is, my kids are 4, 2 and newborn. When they're my age, they're going to be like, Dad, you had a video go viral and get 20 million views for free. Like that's going to be a thing of the past. There's going to be no more free distribution. So like trying to take advantage of that as much as we can within the next 10 to 15 years before it goes away. But like I said, finding that face of the brand, like Jimmy, like Brandon, like Nina, who works with me at Almost Pride, and really doing everything you can to like get them out as much as possible, because eventually, it's not going to be as easy as it is today, for sure.
Yeah, it might be less time.
It may be, honestly. It really may be. I mean,
we're with AI, like AI posting on AI, the quality is going down, as you said. I mean, that's part of the problem.
Quality is going down. And then it's going to transfer. We're talking about VR, AR, right? Like a consumer in 15 years is going to put on goggles and like look at how to prep our food, like what it looks like in their fridge, storing capacity.
You think AI will allow us to do stuff like that?
I like the word allow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Huh. I hope so.
What do you think?
I don't know either.
Yeah.
But no, I think that the free distribution is going to go away. So everyone that is on the fence about, we really haven't gone all in on social media because we're sort of like scared to, we don't have enough time to. The time piece is taken care of by AI, 80% of it, like we've said. And then the other side of it is just really stepping outside of your comfort zone and finding the right person within your company. They don't have to be the founder, CEO. They don't have to be an executive, but someone that embodies what your customers embody and connect with. And then you just get them and do everything you possibly can to get them out there as much as possible.
Do you guys, given everything you guys said, are we moving, and this is something John and I talked a lot about, to more of a mom and pop model online, where people want to kind of be recognized by the brand, be able to have a conversation with the brand, opposed to like, I don't want to say last X amount of years has been transactional, but when you think about, 14 years ago with ads being so cheap and, whatever you put on there will sell, do you guys think we're like TikTok shop potentially with social media, the consumers are going to shift and want to have personalities that they can engage like Brandon does for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're already there in the sense that, you look at the need want scale, you look at disposable income and what we talked about a couple of pods ago. I think that is 100% where it's at. Now, is it create opportunity for the mom and pop? I don't know, because I think
not mom and pop. Okay. I'm just like the mom
and pop feel.
Because like there's certain stores that I go to.
No, I understand.
Yeah,
yeah, 100%. So I think, Brian, we were chatting about this last night. So we, we're fortunate enough that we've scaled and we have a full video editing team, right? These 3 guys are absolute rock stars. But it's funny, we over and over and over again. Not so much now, because like they'll ask the right question, like, how good do you want it to be, right? So if you look at our videos, you'll see really polished stuff when it needs to be really polished and, high production value, like the Mission 100 video. But we'll be like, hey, take some of the lipstick off, like make it a little bit more genuine, a little bit more raw, because audiences want that, right? They want genuine, and way they feel genuine is if it's an edit job that they think they could probably do, right? Yeah. That's real. So I think absolutely. So
maybe I am engaged with the wrong brands, but how come more brands are not doing this?
I think the traditional thought process around advertising and following playbooks, like people tend to follow what they know works at the effort that they believe is the best for them. And I think the idea of like having a product and running Facebook ads and whatever and like doing it that way, it works well enough. Maybe it doesn't do free traffic, but free traffic is not really free. You have to put energy and work behind it to make that free traffic, right? The creativeness that comes with it, which is always a challenge. I think that comes into a play.
But not just that, like you touched upon the engagement piece.
Yeah.
Not just the posting, but like you did so much engagement.
Correct.
Like, brands don't even that I see don't really even engage.
Oh no, I think you're right. Some don't, but I think some, and even large ones. There's some
Like Wendy's.
Wendy's with Twitter fingers.
Yeah.
Panera does a great job.
Yeah.
Panera Bread does a great job.
Some of the car companies do. Even the airline companies respond. If you at United and tell them how terrible they are, they'll respond to you.
But that's different. But I'm talking about getting into the conversation.
Included in
No,
it.
so I think there are, right? There's a bunch that don't because they're on old playbooks, right? They're dinosaurs, and if you don't adapt, the meteor's gonna wipe you out.
But even like the newer ones, like and I there's a bunch of brands that I do see from time to time. They like joke around and go back and forth with people. Like Slim Jim actually is a good one. I always see him on all the sports.
They're on,
account.
they comment on stuff they shouldn't be. But
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy, but it's cool to see.
Yeah.
It kind of gives them personifies the brand,
Slim
like we
Jim's
talked
wild.
previously.
You ever remember Gary Vee used to say, "What's the ROI of social media?" People used to ask him that all the time.
Yeah.
Anyone see that clip before? Okay,
No.
so there's a clip of Gary Vee, who obviously, if you don't know who that is, he's like I don't know, what do we call him? An entrepreneur. He tells you to work hard, right? That's like his thing. Motivational entrepreneur, work hard. He's got a big firm and a bunch of success, so he's obviously worked hard and got himself. One of the things he talks about is people who can't understand social media. So going back to your question, why don't more brands do it? Oftentimes the people who are running and operating these brands are people of money, financial, who've grown businesses, they don't understand the ROI of social media.
They can't see it.
They can't see it, feel it, touch it. So they ask the question, what is your ROI of social media, right? I'll tell you guys myself, when I was standing in front of my board and I was like, I'm going to do social media. They're like, what the fuck is that? You know what I mean? Like, they're like, and I'm like, I'm going to go do this. They're like, all right, Jimmy, you do what you want to do. Right? And then they watched it and then little bit update. Oh, okay. Maybe something interesting. Now, dude, the whole firm stands up behind me because they're like,
well, now they get it.
They've
seen the results.
And I've done
it.
something magical in any SaaS business because normally it's about salespeople, humans, BDRs, cold outbound. Now it's about community partnerships. You know what I mean? It's like changed.
So to me, and maybe this is a stupid question because it's the same thing. Given what you guys said, it took you 5-6 months to even get traction. Is it that they don't understand the ROI or they're not patient enough to wait for the ROI?
Ooh, it's like a modern day SEO almost.
Yeah.
No, it is. It's the
100%.
long tail game. I would say you have the combination, right? You have the impatient ones, and then you have the ones that are just so dinosaured into that old playbook.
Because you can't buy engagement in a sense,
You can't.
like genuine.
Not
Of
real
course, you can pay
engagement.
for
Yeah.
views or
No.
whatever, but for people to keep coming, like you have to be genuine.
Yeah.
And I think maybe sometimes people are just not. I'm guilty of that too. Like when we started stuff for a child, this sucks. There's nothing. You get discouraged, and
No one's watching us.
Yeah, and it was funny for me. Like on LinkedIn, I start posting like tips and tricks, whatever. Super low. I post how I'm proud of my team because we launched 7 websites in 1 month. Through the roof. I'm like, what the hell? But I think I was being genuine.
You were being genuine.
Yeah, and people felt it.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
It's huge. Especially on, so we, our affiliate program, we spent a lot of money. There's a couple big players in the space, right? Where, hey, 10 grand a video, here's the code, click the link in the bio, all that bullshit. And what I noticed is that side of social, along with like people were really gung-ho. They still are about UGCs. And I'm finding those are, at least in my space, are sort of like falling. And we have like some, technically they're micro influencers, 7, 8, 9, 10,000 followers, but they're so genuine and they love our product so much that they actually have like a 50 ROI compared to these, big brands. They have, 2, 3, 4, right?
We won't pay the big ones.
It's insane.
It's all micro.
It's insane. So now I'm looking at this, right? We're having a girl that has 7,500 followers. She's getting $3,000 from us a month as her payout, selling raw dog food online because she's so genuine and she fits the brand so well that like I'm almost going to reach out to her and be like, hey, listen, we're going to set up, IG shop, Meta shop, like we'll give you a cut of the sales. Do you want to run our social media for us? Because you're perfect, right? So the more genuine you are, and she's just a great example that it just builds that community a lot more because people feel connected. You have to feel connected on social media. People feel connected with Jimmy. I felt connected with him when I started, and it opens up so many freaking doors, social media, that people don't realize that. Like I always, literally,
this room right here is social media
from social, right?
Yeah.
It opens up so many doors.
This would not happen maybe if John and I didn't do those videos. It would not happen if you didn't post. It would not happen if you guys connected.
If you didn't know who I was, and then you two didn't go on social media and start talking about it and taking hot takes against the big K and then bringing me up, I would have never seen this.
Yeah, I was tagging you.
Yeah, he was tagging me, right? We didn't know each other.
I
He
was
was just
going
tagging
hard
me. He
against
was just
Flavor.
going hard. And then when he tagged me and I started posting, he would have met him. Like, it's like a full circle. But it 100% started in social.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And then
so to your point, you're talking about this girl that's the perfect fit, right? So Brandon, the face of BattleBox, he was a paying customer.
That's right.
In our biggest tier, doing a paid for, him paid for, like he bought the box, doing his own review on a YouTube channel. We were sending 30 comp boxes to YouTubers a month. He was not one of them.
That's why.
We went to our spreadsheet to find out which one he was, and he wasn't on there, and we looked him up in the CRM and found him there paying full price. Didn't even use a coupon code. And it was exactly that, right? But he was speaking to our customers in such the perfect way. And it just obviously, evolutionized into what it is today.
Yeah.
Where he's
And he does a great, especially with the boxing videos, he does an awesome job. Awesome job.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
I did not know that. As long as I've known you that, I didn't know that that's
we
how
learned something
branded.
new.
Wow, look at that, huh?
We thought you knew everything.
so-
All right. What's his favorite color?
There's no way you know. I don't even know.
Oh, I'm
I like that.
Okay, so-
awkward silence.
Do you like blue?
Do you like
It is blue. So Brandon, face of the brand, started off as a customer. Luke runs customer experience for us. Started off as a customer too. He was by profession a nurse.
That one I knew.
Yeah.
Brandon, I did not know.
Wow.
Which I'm surprised.
See,
Paying
and
customer.
I'm gonna go upstairs and grab my Advil because I already know everything about.
I was
John.
not feeling well. And I came back midway.
Oh shit, that's great. Well, I
Well,
think
Jimmy didn't want to go get me an Advil, so I had to go myself.
I only had Tylenol. I'm
It's-
sorry, I don't have the Advil. I don't
You
have that
needed the
expensive
Advil
stuff.
for that headache my last name gives you.
Yes,
That's
yes.
true.
This is very true.
Gronkowski.
But I think that with looking at everything we just talked about, it's kind of interesting. Like we talked about in SaaS, right? We talked about in brand. What about agencies? Let's talk about that a little bit. Okay, I'm an agency and I'm listening to this pod and I've heard, how brand might approach it, how you guys have I've talked about the SaaS journey. An agency sits in a really unique place in the market because you work with both of us, right? But we both get mad at you and you get mad at both of us, but it doesn't like ever become just us two in one, right? Like it's like a three-way triangle. It's like a triangle, right?
Yeah.
And how do you think about it? Because I think it's really interesting because it's like, if you're an agency, what can you be great at? And I think it is really about market leadership and thought leadership more than it is about your agency. That's probably my guess. But honestly, I don't see a lot of agencies. Well, there's a couple. Taylor Holiday is a perfect person. Common Thread Collective.
But there's not a lot.
Yeah, but there's not. If you think about it, Nick Shackelford Unstructured, obviously very much an influencer and in the market. But like, if you think about it, in the agency world, there's very few that have been able to crack this. And do you think it's just because, again, to the ROI question, because it takes so long? Like, is that something that goes to the back of your head? Like, how do you think about this?
No, to me, I don't think it's that. I think my first step, and I talked to John about this before, is how can I commit to this? And in full transparency, and I think every entrepreneur or whatever, it's not just an agency thing, but we go through these peaks and valleys of headaches with the company. You get an influx of customers, you have to step in. And to me, and this is going to sound crazy, and I told this to me, we need new sales, of course. We need new marketing. My number one thing to me is the current clientele that we have and constantly delivering for them. So that's like always been my priority. So
Yeah, you obsess over that.
It's just everything to me. And like, I think John knows, like when stuff comes up and I need to jump in, if I had, I don't care. Sometimes I hate to say it, and she's gonna get mad at me. But like, if I have a dinner with my fiance Lenny scheduled, and there's an issue with a client, that's it.
Yeah.
Because to me, what John does and everyone else does, and the trust they put in me, I can't let that down.
Sure.
And we play, I think, a very specific and crucial component in every single brand's journey.
Yeah.
And we need to be there for them.
So, not to cut you off, I think that's why Pirella is so successful. But I think that's unique. I don't necessarily think that's agency as a whole.
It may not be.
I disagree. I don't think it is.
And I have to be honest here, and in a weird way, I always wanted this. Outside of Alan, who's my co-founder, but he was more my mentor for me from a technology standpoint. I never had like an agency mentor to lean in and say like, "Hey, what did you do? How did you fail?" Like, and I always kind of crave that to learn from somebody, because like what you said on the last podcast about the sponge, I always like to be a sponge. I know there's a ton of people smarter than me, and I want to learn from them. I learned a ton from him, even from
you had to figure it out trial and error.
Yeah. But one of the reasons I think for me it was always been the commitment. About a year and a half ago, we had zero social presence, and then we hired somebody from marketing. She took over. Then we hired kind of like an assistant for her, and we started to kind of post things and do things. And we're still trying to figure out. Like, we were supposed to have an automotive webinar last month. We pushed so hard. Actually, Shopify helped us a little bit. I couldn't get a freaking sign up. It was like, what are we doing wrong? And then we're okay. We're gonna cancel. We're gonna try again and figure out what didn't work. But to me, and I 100% agree with you. Like when you were talking about your story, I was like, I can just replicate this for the agency. My problem is I need to make this. My clientele is always going to be my priority one. That needs to be my priority.
You need
two.
you need to reprioritize it.
Yeah.
Now, the reason I'm able to do this, and it took a while, and we're seventh year. Everything you say, like, when you do the intros, I owe everything to my team. Me being here and not having to do like, what's going on? Like, is everyone okay? Is something going? It's because of my team. Yep. And I think now I'm at a point, and I knock on wood, I hope it continues to be that, where I can say, okay, what is the next chapter? And the cool thing where I sit, I think, as an agency, is I can partner with brands, I can partner with partners, and I can create really, really cool content. And I have this like access to so much support and so much access. I'm just not doing it.
Yep.
And it's what
because it's that trial. You have both. Which is such a cool spot to be in.
It's a super cool perspective, and I get into really deep conversation with partners, with brands, and there's so much there. And I think we can do better. Like, actually, one of the things we're working on right now is I'm designing a dashboard that I'm going to offer to everyone for free that has like basically a watered down triple whale.
Yeah.
But I then want to use that to create industry insights, patterns, and everything, and be able to have data-driven conversations.
People are consumers in general. I don't necessarily subscribe to this, but I think it's something in your tool bag that you should use, is being able to say we designed Rihanna's site, right? Like, we did Billie Eilish's site. I wouldn't probably mention BattleBox because nobody cares, but those people,
they care. Someone cares.
Someone cares.
Someone cares.
Go to Sub Summit,
but no,
and see what happens.
No, but so BattleBox. But to be fair, like, BattleBox is in a different category as these celebrities, right?
So here's the thing too.
All of these celebrities.
And I'm trying to change this. We're very humble. We're, I think, one of the first, maybe the first Webby winning Shopify agency. We've done incredible.
What did you win the Webby for?
We won the Webby for Billie Eilish's homepage.
Her perfume.
Yeah, for her perfume.
Okay.
And then we were second runner-up to best user overall experience to Google with Crunch Labs. And I have an amazing, and it's nothing me. It's my freaking team, and they're amazing.
Yeah, but you should scream that from the rooftop.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. We're like too humble. We don't want to be like cocky or whatever. Another thing I found out, and I was shit scared when it came out, is Shopify said if you migrate from any other platform on average, your conversion will go up 15%. Ours is 30. Double average of Shop, and we don't scream it.
Yeah.
But I do tell people.
You're 100% right. Like if I'm an agency, what's your success is the success of your brands.
Yeah.
And basically what he's telling me is, I just heard like your brands are successful, they're happy, you're winning awards. You should be shouting that. And that should be your social media. Even if you are gloating, and maybe it is hard to unlock. I get it, man. It's as a founder, you are generally really humble about these things because you don't want to be. But something that's unlocked in me even is just get it out there, dude. And look, you're either going to be perceived one or two ways. You're going to get a little cringe, which is like, and that's going to be from your competitors. And any agency watching, this guy talking about Billie Eilish and all that stuff. And then there's the customers like, holy shit, they did Billie Eilish.
I want to work with them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the customer that matters for you cares, and they're going to give you're going to get negative action from other agencies for the typical hate that you should expect, right? And I think that's kind of interesting when you think about that. Like, you do sit in a weird place where you're going to get it, just like me, right? I've got my own enemies and my friend. I call them frenemies, whatever you want to call them, but they're still enemies in what we're doing, and they're my competitor, and that's what I have to do, right? Yeah. I have to grow this story and presence and teach him. And, even today, I depending on when you're watching this pod, but I posted a post about a case study, right? I have to do that because I'm proud of it. But, the way I put it there is I use SendLane to post a case study, and then I use mine to add the personal layer story on top of how that relationship happened. So I'm humanizing that we had this brand and so forth. Yeah. So, guys, this has been a fantastic episode about social media. I think it's been a really weird, interesting perspective because from brand side to SaaS to agency, like we're really talking about how everyone should be doing it. And honestly, like the takeaway that I take from this pod is like, if you're not doing anything, you're probably leaving something on the table. Yeah. You should be doing something, and it doesn't always have to be because you want sales. From recruiting to views to membership, anything you're doing ultimately, social media is a powerful way, the connections, the network. The reason why this room, like literally that's why it's social media, right? Like this room doesn't occur in what we're doing today and why we spent a bunch of money to be here, but also deliver some great content into the world wouldn't have happened from this.
And if for me, I'm probably doing the least now I am and most fearful, but if I didn't do the little I did with John, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah. Even the little that you did we were having a pre-show conversation, Amer, I was like, Amer, how edgy do you want to be? He's like, oh, I'm not the edgy guy. And I'm like, who? He's like, points at John. He's like, John's the edgy guy. And I understand it wasn't that he was an edgy guy. He was just an Android guy, right?
Yes.
We're going to keep picking on that.
Are we going to mention this every episode?
We might for a while.
The knee slapper.
I love it.
Next week, we're
shooting from Dallas, or the next episode you hear from this one. We have done it. The next episode will be about scale. So we're going to talk about some of the challenges as our businesses have grown in different capacities. Scale doesn't always mean like $100 million. Sometimes it's about what those next challenges occur as you're growing your business. Amer, you're 100 and how many people in your team?
125.
125. I'm about 90. What are you?
40.
40, and you're about 42.
40.
So, we're in that interesting scale where we're not quite this large enterprise yet, but we have scaled past that early startup phase per se. And, there's a lot of new challenges and learnings you have. And so we're going to discuss that along with other things along the next couple episodes. With that, guys, if you're watching this or listening to this first on Apple or Spotify or whatever other channel you're listening to, come watch us on a video on YouTube. We are YouTube first, video first pod show, whatever the hell we call ourselves. We want you to watch those shows. We want you to enjoy those shows. And we want you to be part of those because that's where we're going to share the links and how you can engage with us. And then find us on social. We're going to link it now that we just talked about social. Yep. And we're going to do it from episode 1, but we're going to link us into social. Make sure you find us. Episode 4 has been a fucking blast, guys.
Yeah.
Awesome.
ATL represent. What was that pizza place called again?
Antico's.
Shout out to Antico's for the delicious lunch here.
Phenomenal.
And shout out to all these soda companies that we're advertising for free on this pod. But besides that, guys, thank you guys. Episode 4. It's been a great show. That's a wrap. We'll see you on the next one.
Welcome to the Awesome Pod, where we talked a lot. E-com was the path that we walked a lot. But now the question is, will you subscribe or not?